right, everybody, how are we today?
Good.
Having a good day,
Thank
enjoying
you.
the sunshine?
Yes.
Awesome. I know, right? They can sense vibration through the water, so they hear my voice, and they obviously know what time it is. So, and obviously they get fed at this time every day, so they kind of know. It does take a little bit of time for them to switch over to daylight savings, but they're hungry for the food, so they're good. So my name's Nikki, I'm a senior keeper here at Otorohanga Kiwi House. I'm actually new, I've been here for about 4 weeks. I've come from Wellington region. I'm a senior vet nurse for about 10 years, but I've been in the conservation industry for about 15. So, and these guys are endemic to New Zealand and they're one of my favourites. So I'll tell you a little bit about these guys. So they are the endemic longfin eel. They are described as a longfin eel because of the fin that goes along the dorsal of the back is longer than any other eel you'll see here in New Zealand. And these guys are endemic to here, which means they're only found here. We also have the short fin eel, which the fin starts way shorter down the back, and the spotted Australian eel as well. So they're both from Australia. And as with all eel, these guys will live in freshwater for all their lives and migrate to saltwater. So anywhere after the age of 35, these guys will get ready to migrate. Their eyes will move to the side of their head, their noses will become very narrow, they'll become very fish-like, their back goes really black and their belly goes really silver. This is to be able to disguise themselves in the ocean from predators. So they'll start heading their way out. As soon as they start making those changes, they stop eating completely. So as you can imagine, on their journey, they'll become very depleted. So they start making their way out of New Zealand after they're starting to make their changes. If they've completed their change and they get blocked by a drain, they will pass away. However, if they haven't completed their change and there's still some more changing to go, they can actually revert back and come back and live their life until they migrate again. So once they start migrating, they'll all head out towards the Hauraki Gulf. They'll start picking up their friends along the way. The females usually head off first around the end of April, and May, June the males will follow. So they'll head out to the Hauraki where they all kind of meet up with each other. Entertaining duck over there. And they'll all dive really, really, really deep. So they dive so deep to miss all the ship paths and stuff like that, and to become very camouflaged in the ocean bed. So they'll head off to the extent of New Caledonia. We have tracked eel as far as New Caledonia and to the Tongan Islands. They will then go really deep and lay their eggs in the crevices. Once these eggs have been, the pukeko that bullies me out of my job. Yeah. So once these guys have laid their eggs, they then get fertilized and they're called leptocephalus. Leptocephalus is Latin for tiny head. These tiny heads rise to the surface and catch the current to New Zealand. They have teeth and they eat the nutrients as they come off the current. Wow. As they come into New Zealand, they start to get that freshwater, saltwater kind of lapping over. They turn into what we call glass eels. They're also coming in. It takes about 18 months for these guys to catch the current back. So they're actually coming back in when we have our white baiting season. So glass eels are about this big and they can get caught up in our white bait. As they move through to this freshwater, they then become elvers. They turn our rivers black. They become worm-like, they're very sticky, and they can climb up to around 40 metres high, climbing up our dams and climbing up our waterfalls to find where they want to live. They have 300 super sharp serrated teeth that go in the opposite direction. They literally shred their teeth, shred their prey. They also have their taste buds on their forehead, so they'll generally taste their food before they actually eat it. So they're very dimorphic as well. So the females are a lot larger than the males. The males remain about half the size of the females. The females can get up to about 50 kilos and about 2 meters in length as well. Wow. So the wrinkly effect that you see that they have when they come out of the water is actually specific to these guys. Other eels don't actually have that kind of wrinkly effect as they come out of the water. These guys can breathe through their skin. So they secrete a slime when they come out of the water. So when you go to try and pick them up out of the water, they'll literally slip out of your hands. This slime also helps protect them cross land. They can cross land and breathe oxygen through their skin for up to 3 days. Pretty incredible, eh?
Wow. What are you feeding them?
So I'm feeding them a bit of dog roll and a bit of, is it ox heart? Yeah, a bit of ox heart as well. Yeah. They usually love that rotting, smelly meat as well. So anything that's kind of sick on a farm, these guys will literally drag it off and eat it away. They're a really good biodiversity indicator. If the rivers are overpolluted, these guys won't populate the area either. So that's pretty extraordinary to be able to dictate which areas are quite filthy and which areas need to be cleaned up. 18. Go. They are technically a fish, so they do have scales. They can't see them in the naked eye, and you can't actually feel them when you pick them up either. So to dictate the age of an eel is exactly the same as a fish through the otolith bone in the ear. So the same rings as a tree has to dictate the age of a tree is the same rings as an ear bone has. The oldest eel that we have on record at Massey University is 102 years of age. It was a female that didn't migrate, and she ended up with like little cyst balls inside of her, and we were able to, obviously she passed away, so we're obviously able to check out that otolith bone. That was pretty epic to see.
Wow.
So usually with the females, they do have a larger, thicker girth of a head, and that muscle mass is extremely bigger than the males.
Have these ever been farmed for eating by anyone?
So back
Not
in the
that
day,
I'm saying I want to do that.
no, but I'll tell you a bit of a story on how it's now, kind of how it is now. So back in the day, the larger the eel you caught, the more money you got.
Yes.
So as I've just told you guys, that was the females.
Yeah.
So that's about 50 years ago. We've now put a bit of a stop to, and MPI are working on trying to protect these guys a bit more. They are becoming endangered, and we're absolutely daft if we're not going to see a dent in these guys' survival in the next 10 years or so. We're fishing for those large females 50 odd years ago. Those ones would be the ones getting ready to migrate now.
No.
So we're going to start to see a decline in these guys from here on in, I believe. So they are trying to protect them more. Yeah, so farming would be a big no-no. However, we do know in New Zealand there is still some black market practices which we really want to stop. So the more education we can get out there, the better we can get at this, and the more we can protect these absolutely incredible unknown species. Yeah. Personally, I don't like eel. My son caught one when he was younger. It was only a little one, and I didn't like it. So they have no fear from me. They don't really tend to bite either. Like I've been swimming with these guys in the local rivers and stuff. They kind of tickle your toes. A group of eels like this is actually called a bed. Yeah.
Bed of eels.
A bed of eels, not the kind of bed you want to be snuggling in.
No.
Although I say I've been swimming with them, I would not be game enough to put my hand in there right now and wash it with the water because it stinks of what they've. So I'd receive a few eel kisses if I did that. And the little nodules you see coming out of their nose, that's actually their nostrils. That's,
That's very cool.
They are super epically cool, eh?
Yeah.
One of my favourite species, and I could honestly talk about them all day long.
So which parts of New Zealand?
So all throughout New Zealand.
Throughout New Zealand?
Yeah. So even in the hills I go tramping down south and stuff, there's eels all through those rivers. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
That's very cool. Oh, look at that. Oh, come on, more food, Mum.
I know.
Come on.
So you'll notice their little pectoral fin. They're one of the only fish that can go upside down and go backwards without drowning because that pectoral fin actually blocks the gill. Yeah.
Gee, that's amazing.
And their muscle mass. I mean, where I used to work, we had a bridge that people used to stand on for the eel talk, and we had big ropes that hung off, and we used to take our Christmas hams and stuff. Thank you, and wrap them on the ropes, and the eel would come up and scoop the ham off the bone. Like, it was pretty incredible.
Wow.
The muscle on these guys is just outstanding.
Where were you working in Wellington?
Pukaha, Mount Bruce.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, great place.
Yeah, especially because you got the river that runs
Yeah.
through. So these guys, even though they don't have a river that runs through here, once we start noticing they're starting to go through those changes, we grab these guys and we start releasing them